Welcome friends to Farm Fresh Designs 59. If you're new to my channel, welcome. And if you're returning, thank you so much for your support. I am super excited about today's video. So about a month ago, I reached out to Jonelle at Decoupage Central and asked her if she was going to be putting out a Nativity decoupage paper because I've had several of you asking for one. And she said she tried to work on one, but she just couldn't get the color like she liked. And so I asked her if, she could do another design. Well, lo and behold, about a week or so ago, she texted me the pictures of the decoupage papers that she created, and I was more than thrilled. And so when she shared this particular paper with me, it really just brought tears to my eyes. And I know that you will love it as well. So with decoupage paper, you can either use like a little water pen or a paintbrush dipped in water to kind of soften those edges, or you can just tear it. And this time I just chose to tear it. But I love this design because not only is it of Mary, Joseph, and the baby Jesus, but up in the right-hand corner, there is a picture of the adult Jesus with his crown of thorns. And it is absolutely the most beautiful decoupage paper I've ever seen. So I'm really excited to be sharing this with you today. So this is just an older sign that I bought a really long time ago at Hobby Lobby. But I'm using the back side of it, and I'm using Rust-Oleum chiffon cream. And I like to use Rust-Oleum for those basic colors because I find that it's just cheaper in the long run. And with decoupage paper, it helps to have a lighter background because it helps the colors in the decoupage paper to pop out a little bit more. So I actually used maybe 3 coats to cover this because I didn't want you to have any distressing on this at all. But before I put my decoupage paper down, then I have actually gotten this stencil off of Amazon. Now, there's different parts of this stencil, but I only wanted the words up at the top that said, "For unto us a child is born." So I'm going to go ahead and tape it down with painter's tape. But then what I do is I go ahead and use painter's tape to kind of cover the top half of that part of the stencil that I don't want to show up because, well, I don't want to accidentally mess it up. And so I'm just using a little stencil brush with IOD black ink. And in another project today, I decided not to use ink, but I just use some chalk paint. So whichever way you like to stencil, I decided that I would just do this for this particular project. And then when it's all done, I just pull it straight up, and then I just lay that stencil off to the side. So now I'm actually ready to put my decoupage paper down. What I like to do is I like to turn it over and put some Mod Podge on the back of it, or whatever decoupage medium that you like. And I put some up at the top. And then when I lay it down on my surface, by starting up at the top, then I can get it laid in the place that I want it to be and get it all straight. And then I'll pull it up every little bit and put some more Mod Podge on that, as opposed to just putting it over the entire graphic. Once I get it on, then I just use a little piece of cellophane wrap to rub over it really gently. Now I want to add a little bit of dimension to it. So this is the IOD Vintage Textures stamp. And I'm stamping it, I may be stamping it with stone gray ink because I don't want it to be too bold. And you just can turn the stamp every which way. And I actually even stamped on top of the decoupage paper. And I went around on the edge of this little frame. So I stamped it on the top part of the frame that you see and then all around the edges, just because I wanted it to be more cohesive. So finally, my last part that I do to kind of finish it off is I have already made a resin mold of the little Christmas star on the IOD mold from last Christmas called Old Christmas Tree. And I just use some Dixie Belle gold gilding wax and kind of paint it on there. And then I put it on with Tight Bond Thick and Quick, just right up there at the top. And I just think that's just a perfect finishing touch to this beautiful picture. So what do you think? Is this just not an incredible piece of decoupage paper? And I will make sure to share that link in the description box below, because I know that so many of you like more faith-based Christmas items. And so I wanted to bring this to you early because Jonelle just dropped this paper onto the website in case you want to go ahead and get it. And because I might want to use the back side of this later, I just put some little cup hooks in it and I put a little twined string on it to hang it. So if you're enjoying the video so far, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel and become part of our family. So let me show you my next paper. Look at this. Actually, when Jonelle wasn't sure if she could do a nativity scene, I said, well, can you maybe do some shepherds out in the fields with their sheep and the Christmas star above? And she said, well, yeah, I think I can do that one. So just the fact that she was able to come up with both papers just amazes me. I think she has just really blown me away with the designs on these two papers. Now, this is an old thrifted frame that I had used for something else, and the backing to it was gone, so I just used some foam board, and I kind of decided where it was going to be on the frame, and I decoupaged that down, and then I used just hot glue to lay that foam board down, and I'll go back later and put some brown paper on the back side of it to finish it off. Now you can already see the star in this particular paper, but once again I use that resin mold of the Christmas star from the IOD Old Christmas Tree mold. And I just think it's beautiful. Now there's a little bit of wrinkling in the middle, but that was more user error. I think I probably used too much Mod Podge on that particular piece, but I just love it. And I love what these decoupage papers stand for. So my next paper is actually one that Jonelle has already had for quite some time, and it's just a beautiful angel. And this time I'm just using a water pen to go all around the edges, and that just softens the paper up to where you can kind of tear it off. And I think it looks just a little bit more natural than if it's torn than if it's cut. And then this is an 8x10 little stretch canvas frame that I painted with Rust-Oleum chiffon cream. And then I'm just going to decoupage it straight onto that. And I got this from the Dollar Tree. So I'm actually going to be putting this canvas on top of another board. So I have a larger board made out of MDF, and I'm painting it with Dixie Belle collard greens, which is a really dark green color. And now I'm using another stencil that I got off of Amazon, and I'm just going to go ahead and tape off the part that I don't want to stencil, because the words that I want to stencil are "Oh Holy Night" and then the little stars that are up at the top. This time I'm going to be using just a chalk paint to stencil it, but because I don't want to accidentally mess up, then I'll use that collard green paint to paint it first. It dries really quick, and then I go back with the Rust-Oleum chiffon cream. And then that way it's going to be less likely to bleed through on those corners of those stencils. And then I just take some Tight Bond Thick and Quick, and I glue that canvas right onto that MDF board. And I just think she's beautiful. So what do you think? So I've just shown you 3 faith-based decoupage papers that will be perfect for Christmas gifts for your pastor, or maybe your Sunday school teacher, or for yourself. And which one so far has been your favorite? So my next project is going to be really quick and easy. So John L. has put together, I believe, 45 different designs of some Christmas tags that you can use. And what you do is it's a digital printable, and so you order the file and then you print it yourself. And so I just had 2 different pages of them. And the first one is just a really pretty cross. And this is just a paper tag from Michael's. And this time I cut it because I'm going to just cut it right to the edge so that there's no more of that tag hanging off. And then I'm going to punch a little hole up at the top. And then the second one is more poinsettias. Now I want to go ahead and kind of decorate the back of it. And this is a stamp from the new stamp set called Ephemera. And I forgot to show you stamping it. So I'm just showing you how to, press gently on that stamp and keep one hand still while you're pressing around with the other edges. And I just think it turned out really pretty. But before I show you the final result, this is another piece of decoupage paper that's got 2 different designs on it. So this is just a scrap piece of wood that kind of looks like a little house. And it was out in my wood stash. So I painted it with Rust-Oleum chiffon cream. And then the first design that I put on it was a poinsettia design. And then on the other side, I used the design that was more holly leaves. Now, I apologize for not filming this, but this is one of the molds from the conservatory mold that came out in the spring I made with resin. And then I stamped on a little napkin Merry Christmas from the IOD stamp called Merry and Bright. That's an older Christmas stamp. And then I took some red Waverly paint and I just dabbed a little dot on all 4 corners of it. And I glued it on with Titebond Thick and Quick. Now on the other side, I'm going to be using some clay molds used with the IOD mold called Holly Lane. So if you've not used air dry clay before, you want to make sure you put cornstarch in your mold and then push your clay down into the mold. And the IOD has a micro rim on it, so you can kind of push it right up to that rim. And then I like to use a gift card to kind of smooth it on the back side. So up at the top of this little piece of wood, I'm going to put 2 pieces that those particular pieces have berries in the design. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to make some more molds to put down at the bottom, just to kind of make it a little bit more cohesive. And those particular pieces that I mold are just going to be little pieces of holly. Now, if you've watched my channel before, you know that I like to go ahead and paint my molds about 10 or 15 minutes after I've put them on, because it really does help reduce the cracking of the clay. And if you use a really soft bristle brush and just dab that paint on, then it's not going to mess it up. And I'm using Waverly Moss Green paint. And on this particular lighting, it doesn't look like it is the right color. But when you see the final result, it looks a little bit more shaded than it needs to be. And I waited to do these clay molds the last because that other little mold was made out of resin. And if I had done that first, when I laid down that clay, it would have kind of smushed it. So what do you think of these 2 pieces? So in this lighting, the green's just a little bit closer, but I think I'll probably go back and change it. And these are some wonderful little tags that, in this horrible heat that everybody's suffering from right now, this is a great time to go ahead and be making some little tags for your Christmas gifts. So in the comments below, tell me, what was your favorite project today? I think I have to admit that the very first one, the nativity scene, was my absolute favorite piece. So if you're interested in any of these papers, I will make sure to put that link in the description box below. And John L. also sells the IOD products as well. And I will share the link to those Amazon stencils that I bought off of Amazon. So if you enjoyed the video today, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. And also make sure to hit the notifications button so YouTube will notify you when I upload my next video. And make sure to go to my Facebook page, Farm Fresh Designs, and you'll be able to see projects that I don't actually share in my videos. Have a great week.